Hello, welcome back to StoryHouse. Today, we're discussing a book titled The Rational Optimist. Its subtitle is A History of Human Economic Progress. The author, Matt Ridley, holds a doctorate degree in zoology from Oxford University and is a renowned science writer in the UK. But why focus on this book? There's a prevalent online saying that suggests many of us grow up in fear. It seems every decade, humanity is confronted with a new global challenge. The 60th brought fears of overpopulation and global famine. The 70th was marked by concerns over depleting resources. The 80th had fears about acid rain. And the onset of the 21st century introduced anxiety over global warming. Amid these decade-defining concerns, numerous other issues continuously emerge, ranging from environmental challenges like desertification and ozone layer depletion to economic downturns and health threats. Further reinforcing these concerns, apocalyptic movies like Terminator in 2012 amplify these fears, graphically showcasing potential global catastrophes. All these grim messages have fostered a prevailing sentiment that humanity's future is bleak. They instill fear in many, leading others to question modern lifestyles and even the merit of humanity's continued existence. Thoughts such as technology will be our undoing, excessive consumerism breeds greed, and unchecked desires will ruin the earth abound. A frequently proposed solution is a return to a simpler life, devoid of excessive technology and materialism. However, the rational optimist offers a counter-narrative. The book posits that we should not only accept but also celebrate our current lifestyles. It advocates for continued technological advancements and the diversification of our needs. Ridley's optimism isn't baseless. It's informed by a thorough study of human economic history. He identifies trade, specialization, and technological innovation as catalysts for human prosperity and believes they will address future challenges. In the subsequent sections, we'll unpack the book's 5 core arguments, each framed by a central insight to guide our comprehension. After listening to these 5 paragraphs, you can decide whether or not you wish to align yourself with the author's perspective of rational optimism. The first paragraph delves into the idea that trade is an innate impulse. The author argues that trade is the cornerstone of human prosperity. This intrinsic desire to trade seems deeply rooted in our nature. An illustrative example from the text describes a zoologist who raised a young chimpanzee at home. This chimpanzee, roughly the same age as the zoologist's daughter, displayed a vastly different attitude towards food than the human child. While the chimp consumed whatever was given to it, the human child showed a tendency for exchange. Another anecdote recounts Darwin's encounter with the indigenous people of Tierra del Fuego in South America. Without a shared language, trade naturally took place when Darwin offered a steel nail, a treasure, to the natives in return for fish speared on a lance. Many Western explorers have observed that there's scarcely a human tribe where trade doesn't exist. Moreover, this zest for trade is unmatched by any other primate. Our ancestors might not have viewed their initial acts of trade as particularly remarkable, but these simple actions laid the groundwork for a series of beneficial advancements, propelling humanity to its present achievements. The subsequent section is titled Self-Sufficiency is Poverty. This notion might appear counterintuitive. In the 21st century, very few people live strictly by the principle of complete self-sufficiency. Nonetheless, there exist isolated tribes in remote regions of the world, such as in Papua New Guinea, that lead such lives. Observing these tribes offers a unique glimpse into the lives of our ancestors. They lead lives of self-sufficiency, fishing, fetching water, and crafting their own clothing. These daily tasks consume the bulk of their time, since failing to carry them out would result in hunger, thirst, or cold. Yet, despite their unyielding efforts, their living standards can only be characterized as abject poverty. You might wonder, how did our ancestors manage to rise from such dire poverty? The author is eager to address this question. He believes that our ancestors emerged from poverty because they found objects for trade. Once these primitive people mastered a skill, such as expert fishing, it transformed their lives. Imagine a primitive tribe living a self-sufficient but underdeveloped life. If they could catch a surplus of fish due to their expertise, they could trade it with other tribes for items like fruits or animal skin clothing. This principle is known as the Ricardian theory, proposed by the 18th century British scientist David Ricardo. Its essence is that even if you're slightly better at everything than someone else, it's most profitable to focus solely on what you excel at the most. Then, use the rewards from that endeavor to trade for goods produced by others. Over time, under this theory, tribes that were jacks of all trades evolved into specialized tribes. Some became expert fishermen, others fruit gatherers, and some excelled at hunting. Today, urban residents exemplify the extreme application of the Ricardian theory. We generally don't participate in production from what we eat to what we use. Instead, we entrust it to others while we focus on our expertise. A data point from the book reveals that a person living in a primitive tribe would spend about 35% of their working hours producing their own food. In contrast, modern urban dwellers spend virtually no time doing so. A global perspective from 2008 reveals that only 1% of the world's population was primarily engaged in agricultural production. You might question if 1% is sufficient to feed us all. It is, mainly because this 1% predominantly works on specialized farms with aerial seeding, mechanized harvesting, and cultivating advanced high-yield varieties. Their efficiency is magnitudes greater than traditional small-scale farming. Additionally, 24% of people are engaged in industrial manufacturing, such as building cars, ships, or bridges. The remaining 75% cater to diverse needs, ranging from running restaurants to filmmaking, nail art, scientific research, and more. This 75% enriches our world. As of 2016, this trend of specialized division of labor deepens globally. In the book, the author concludes, being poor means one can't sell their time at a high enough price to purchase necessary services. Being wealthy allows one to buy essential services and unique ones they desire. When reflecting on self-sufficiency and its juxtaposition with societal poverty, we're led to the concept of division of labor. The division of labor has birthed a wealth of resources and prosperity in our world. Pursuing this idea further, we're introduced to the notion of humanity's collective brain. The central premise of the third paragraph is that this collective brain functions as an immensely powerful external hard drive for human knowledge. To delve deeper into this concept, let's consider a statement from a book that might be a bit complex at first glance. Humans are the only species on Earth capable of preserving information beyond their genetic code. What does this mean? While most species can only transmit information genetically, humans can pass down knowledge through learned experiences and shared information. For instance, an innovative early human who crafts an exceptionally useful fishing hook retains this knowledge in his own brain. If he were to die suddenly, that specific knowledge might be lost. His descendants wouldn't necessarily inherit this skill. However, with the advent of a societal division of labor, if the fishing hook is genuinely efficient, perhaps 500 apprentices might learn to craft it. This way, a piece of knowledge can be preserved across a society, highlighting the power of the collective human brain. The first advantage of the collective brain is the enhanced security of information. The likelihood of 500 people simultaneously forgetting or dying is slim. The second advantage is the accumulation of knowledge, allowing for unprecedented fusion and even reproduction of ideas, a capability unmatched by any other life form on Earth. If any species wishes to upgrade its abilities, such as increasing stamina or flight speed, it must rely on genetic reproduction and mutation, a process that can take millions of years. In contrast, the human collective brain allows for rapid recombination of information, leading to novel concepts in mere decades. Consider a modern breakfast as an example. The wheat for bread was cultivated by Mesopotamians during the Neolithic period, while the baking method might have been invented by a Stone Age individual. When you casually glance at your smartphone to read the news, you're benefiting from the contributions of pioneers like Faraday and innovators like Steve Jobs. Such seemingly mundane technologies are the culmination of countless contributions from genius minds throughout history. And the beauty is, you don't need to know the intricate details of how they work. The collective human brain has stored that information for you. Over the past few centuries, the pace at which information is added to the collective brain has rapidly increased. The first significant knowledge boom occurred during the Industrial Revolution, with knowledge surging forth like a geyser. This period saw the emergence of foundational knowledge on topics like canal construction, steam engine modification, and even rocketry. As this foundational knowledge continued to compound, it gave rise to more advanced and abstract concepts, with luminaries like Faraday, Maxwell, and Einstein contributing immensely to the human repository of knowledge. Their contributions, as elevated as they were, stood upon the accumulated knowledge of the ages, much like Einstein's metaphor of standing on the shoulders of giants. This collective knowledge base is humanity's unique external hard drive, ensuring the preservation and growth of knowledge. Reflecting upon the initial statement, humans truly are the only species on Earth that can preserve information beyond their genetic code. To recap, the division of labor has led to innovations and knowledge, all of which are stored in our collective brain. Let's delve into the fourth section and discuss a central question. What is the greatest fear in trade? An unchecked government stands as the biggest adversary to commerce. Trade fosters prosperity, and such prosperity can easily attract those who wish to exploit it. Around 1000 before century, various regions worldwide witnessed the blossoming of prosperous societies fueled by trade. Around this time, atop these economic foundations, powerful institutions like royal courts and religious leaders emerged. This set a tone for thousands of years of history where merchants generated wealth while leaders reaped the benefits. The tension between government intervention in the market and the ramifications of such interventions is vast, with many examples provided in the original text. A particular focus here is on the Ming Dynasty in China. A surprising statistic cited mentions that in 1950, China had the unique distinction of having a per capita GDP lower than it had in 1000 CE. What could be the reason? The author posits that policies from the Ming Dynasty, which curtailed trade and commerce, were largely responsible for stunting China's economic growth. The author's perspective suggests that throughout Chinese history, a strong central authority often coincided with economic stagnation, whereas a weaker government often coincided with economic prosperity. The Ming Dynasty, known for its powerful control measures, implemented strict maritime bans along the coast. Within mainland China, the economy was artificially controlled, with farmers only allowed to grow what they consumed and forbidden to sell their produce in the market. This essentially forced people back into a state of self-sufficiency. Can such conditions truly foster prosperity? Furthermore, the Ming government's bureaucratic structure and civil service system, which continued into the subsequent Qing dynasty, only expanded over time, leading to further economic strain. Many countries have histories of instances where governments believed they could improve and efficiently manage markets. Yet, time and again, history has shown this belief to be flawed. Commerce under excessive government control either becomes stagnant or exploited until nothing is left. The text references a quote from scientist and historian Terence Key, who remarked that human conflicts over the past 10,000 years have predominantly been battles against monopolies. The author emphasizes that human civilization's history acts like an experimental lab. It has repeatedly been proven that free trade brings prosperity, while excessive governmental control destroys it. Humanity has discerned, over 10,000 years, which paths lead to prosperity and which lead to its downfall. This insight is both simple and invaluable. All right, let's delve into the crux of the fifth paragraph. It addresses pessimists who have never correctly predicted the core ideas presented in the book, specifically the need to be a rational optimist. Before understanding why they are often wrong, it's essential to categorize these pessimists. They can be broadly divided into two types: irrational pessimists and rational pessimists. Irrational pessimists can be exemplified by those who, when faced with a half-filled glass, always see it as half empty. Such pessimism is deeply rooted in their nature. Another type tends to be resistant to modern advancements, often expressing that older ways were better, possibly driven by their nostalgia. Collectively, these individuals are swayed by an innate pessimistic temperament, causing them to view the future negatively regardless of the situation. On the other hand, rational pessimists are more formidable, as they often present concrete data and evidence to support their gloomy outlook. Despite their well-researched predictions, they often get things wrong. Since the 1800s, global progress has been undeniable. For instance, from 1800 onwards, the world's population grew sixfold, the average life expectancy doubled, and real income increased ninefold. Regarding basic needs, in 1950, a worker had to work 30 minutes to buy a hamburger, while today it only takes 3 minutes. In 1800, to afford an hour of reading light, which was dim and smoky, one had to work 6 hours. But by 2008, just half a second of work could earn an hour of bright, clean LED lighting. Transportation costs, too, have dramatically reduced over the years, as have communication costs. Yet, despite all these improvements, why do pessimists continue to thrive? The book suggests 3 primary reasons. First, humans are inherently more sensitive to bad news, stemming from our evolutionary past where immediate threats required our attention. Second, spreading bad news often appears more intelligent and profound, while an optimistic viewpoint is seen as naive. Third, there's a vested interest in disseminating bad news, as it often leads to personal or commercial gains, whereas good news doesn't drive action or urgency in the same way. Understanding these reasons, it's clear why the world seems flooded with bad news. So, with this perspective, it's easier to peel back the layers of misinformation and see the progress the world is making. Also, there's a group that is both rational and pessimistic without seeking personal gain. They are mostly commendable and are serious scholars. Proving them wrong is challenging. However, these scholars often make a surprising error by always assuming the future will be the same as the present. For instance, a book provided an example of an environmentalist predicting that if the world's population continues to grow, all the trees would be chopped down for paper, leading to global devastation. But will we always need paper? Maybe in 20 years, we might largely use electronic devices like iPads and phones. And perhaps plant fibers could be artificially synthesized, eliminating the need to cut down trees. Just as ancient bamboo slips were phased out in human history, paper might become obsolete too. In response to the challenges of famine, did we solely rely on frugally saving food and increasing farmland? No. Our solutions lay in advanced crossbreeding and mechanized farming. When many express concerns about an energy crisis, we believe in alternative energy solutions like solar, wind, and potential nuclear fusion. Experts predicting a dire future based on current trajectories are mistaken. We humans evolve and adapt. We believe that before major crises reach us, future generations will have innovative solutions we can't even imagine now. The reason humanity is so powerful is our knowledge. Without it, we wouldn't even recognize fuel. For example, if you took a bottle of seawater to James Watt during the Industrial Revolution and mentioned its potential energy, would he have understood? Technologies like nuclear fusion might seem distant. But in October 2014, Lockheed Martin announced significant progress in fusion research, suggesting an energy solution that's both sustainable and pollution-free. More recent developments in fusion technology have further bolstered this optimism. The vast energy reserves in our oceans and on the moon, especially in the form of helium-3 and other isotopes, could be tapped. Even Jupiter, made up of 70% hydrogen, could be a potential energy source. Let's imagine if we were equipped with the knowledge and means to construct a fusion generator today. Our problems related to energy, pollution, and climate change would likely be solved. Knowledge is our most inexhaustible fuel. Alongside it, we also need markets to transform knowledge into consumer goods everyone can afford. When the cost of oil extraction exceeds that of new energy sources, you can bet the shift to newer sources will be rapid, seamless, and driven by market dynamics, not merely a need to save humanity. Therefore, could we assert that as long as we have a thriving market and advanced technology, humanity won't face catastrophic disasters? Pessimism and conservatism might align with our physiological reactions, but they're just that. True rational decisions aren't about curbing our desires or returning to pastoral life. They're about embracing market and scientific advancements. After examining human economic progress, the modern individual should adopt a perspective of proactive, rational optimism. In summary, the core of this book emphasizes that trade is a natural impulse. It brings about societal specialization, ending self-sufficiency and poverty. This specialization fosters knowledge innovation, filling our collective minds with vast information. As long as governments don't overreach, trade will flourish, generating new knowledge and placing humanity in a positive cycle. Should we embrace the future in technology or revert to simpler times? Do you identify as a rational pessimist or a rational optimist? The text concludes with lyrics from Louis Armstrong's "What a Wonderful World," reflecting on the wonder of witnessing the next generation surpasses what we've known and learned, and recognizing the beauty of the world. Congratulations on completing another book summary, and thank you for your support and attention.